I'm Tata Babs.
And I'm Amy Melons.
This is the Booby Trap Podcast. Wine, films, murder.
Trap. Big, beautiful booby trap.
With this podcast, we delve into the world of classic crime and murder films, paired with the perfect wine. Today, we pair the twist of spice and floral notes of a Traminette to match the elegant suspense and sly humor of the film, The Lady Vanishes. So we're going to go ahead and start with our wine tasting. The grape varietal today we're trying is Traminette. What's interesting about Traminette, so it's a white wine, and it's actually a result from a cross between Gewürztraminer, I can say.
Gewürztraminer.
You should know this. You were just in Germany.
I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
And the Jens Save, but 23.416. So you're asking, what is this grape varietal with all these numbers? Well, it's something that was created by this French biochemist, and he used Sebel wine grape hybrids, and this was started back in like the 1860s. So he's actually the guy who created the Chambourcin grape. Coming back to the Traminette, so this cross varietal was actually made in 1965 at the University of Illinois. And the intention essentially was to create a large cluster table grape that had that sweeter flavor of the wine I cannot pronounce, the German wine.
Gewürztraminer.
There you go.
German, I know, is what it has to do with wine.
Well, of course, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wine is grown in the U.S. For the sweetness, it's semi-dry. Acidity, it's high. For the smell, it's usually pretty floral with some spicy and light fruity notes. So thinking like lychee, apricot, orange blossom, maybe some like white pepper in there. As for taste, usually the flavors are more like ripe apples and pears, maybe some violets and apple blossoms. Now, I don't personally eat flowers, but I guess others that do, it tastes like some violets and apple blossoms.
Oh, nice.
A lot of times you're going to go ahead and pair this sort of wine with, for like a main, chicken, seafood, maybe some sushi, or like pasta with a cream sauce, such as like fettuccine Alfredo, which is making me hungry, even though I know we ate recently, but still. And then in terms of cheese, you'd pair it like with a Munster. Blue cheeses like Stilton, Roquefort, and then semi-hard cheeses like Gouda and Gruyere. And as for desserts, apple pie, peach cobbler, cheesecake. Once again, making me a little hungry here. That's a little bit about that sort of wine. Today we're opening a bottle of 2022 Traminette from Meseroth Vineyard. So this vineyard is it's located over in Middletown, Maryland, which is near Frederick, Maryland. And what's kind of interesting is Frederick actually has a magician show out there that happens on the weekends. So there is a magician in this movie that we're going to watch. So it's kind of an interesting little pairing there.
It's magic.
A little connection.
Connected.
It's connected. This wine is going to have notes of honeysuckle and melon, and then it's suggested that the pairing would be like with some grilled chicken, sushi, and I think definitely cheesecake, which is great. We both like to try new wineries, especially on road trips and exploring other countries. So this location was actually discovered on such a road trip. The owner, Gary, was a wonderful host and extremely informative, and the views from the porch were gorgeous. But if you do decide to go check that out, be sure to make a reservation to visit.
Okay.
So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and do a tasting.
Okay.
The first thing we do is the sight. So the question is, what color would you say this wine is?
I think it has a green tint to it.
Do you? Yeah, a little bit of pale green, maybe some straw, maybe a combination between those two. Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Very nice.
And then smell, it does have some floral. I almost feel like jasmine, but I think I get my florals mixed up sometimes. But
I don't have that problem.
I definitely smell some flowers, some florals there. maybe some apricot. I'm not smelling like any spiciness to it per se.
Well, it just said it just had
Like a hint.
a hint of white pepper, so probably not gonna pick up on that.
And then let's go ahead and do the taste. So once again, I think it's high acid, dry. Is this dry sweetness? I think that's that high the acidity
It's very
level.
acidic.
Yeah. I think having it nice and chilled and having it outside like on a summer day as it starts to get warmer and warmer. That's a nice thing where you sit down and just enjoy.
Well, I can see why it goes with like a pasta cheesecake, because a cheesecake in particular is so sweet, and this would cut through that sweetness very nicely.
Yeah.
And for fettuccine Alfredo, it's going to really bump up that flavor, because I love Alfredo, but sometimes the cream sauce can be a little muted, so you're really kind of elevating it with that. But I can see it. I can see why it would pair nicely with those things.
I can also see like kind of where it almost has almost like a citrusy flavor too. So it's something where maybe you can't have citrus, but you can have that hint of citrus through the wine itself. So as you're talking about like the creamy sauce, right? Where it kind of can add that flavor to it a little bit more. And I think as you continue to sip it, right, it definitely kind of mellows out on your tongue. And I think I'm tasting a little bit more of the like apricot-y type fruit on there too, which is very nice. Yeah. Well, very nice. So with that, we're going to go ahead and transition to watching the film while we drink our wine here. Mamie, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit of background on the film?
Sure. We're getting ready to watch The Lady Vanishes, circa 1938. There are some other versions, but this is the Hitchcock version, Alfred Hitchcock. And of course, that makes it the best version. And of course, so we all know that Alfred Hitchcock is the master of suspense, and he directed well over 50 feature films in a career that spanned about 6 decades. So occasionally he remade his own films, such as The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1934 and 1956, Murder, 1930, and German language version film.
So it's Mary. So Murder, and then Mary is the other version of it, but it was German language. So kind of a strange. Yeah, and it was like a year later. So I mean, maybe there was an interest, and that's why that happened. But
maybe
unique for sure.
So of course, Hitchcock is legendary, and his techniques that he used in the film have been used in films since then, over and over and over again, with even with the cinematography that go into the films. So this particular story follows an English tourist. Her name is Iris Henderson. She's played by Margaret Lockwood, and she's traveling by train in continental Europe. And she befriends an elderly governess, Miss Froy, who's played by May Whitty. But after a mysterious incident, Miss Froy disappears, and no one on the train seems to remember her. So Iris teams up with a young musicologist named Gilbert Redmond. He's played by Michael Redgrave, to uncover the truth behind the disappearance. Delve into each character. Margaret Lockwood, as I said, plays Iris Henderson, the English tourist. Miss Lockwood had a pretty big career in the 30s and 40s, doing films such as Lorna Doone and The Wicked Lady. Michael Redgrave is the musicologist, Gilbert Redmond. You may know him from The Importance of Being Earnest, many, many other films, but also of note is that he is the father of a couple of other Oscar winners, which is Lynn and Vanessa Redgrave.
I don't think I know Lynn Redgrave, but I definitely know Vanessa.
Yeah,
Redgrave.
Lynn was, if I'm remembering correctly, now you're making me remember correctly. She was in a movie about an overweight girl, and now I'm drawing a blank on the name of the film, but I'll figure it out before we're through this one.
Okay.
She was not as prevalent as her sister. Georgie, was it Georgie Girl? Georgie Girl.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Whew,
I have seen that movie. Okay.
So yeah, her career was not as big as Vanessa's, but definitely a pretty good career.
Yeah.
Then we have Dame May Whitty. I love that name. I love to be May Whitty, and she plays Miss Froy. And she was in a couple of other
pretty well-known films.
Yeah, Suspicion, which is another Alfred Hitchcock film, and a film, very famous film with Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer, Gaslight.
Which is where you get that term,
yes,
being
it
gaslit.
absolutely is. It absolutely is.
So just really quick for your awareness. So the Lady Vanishes is actually based on the 1936 novel called The Wheel Spins by Ethel Lena White. And so the book essentially provides that foundation for the film's plot and its characters. But what's kind of interesting is that the story was actually based on a legend of an English woman who disappeared from a hotel room in Paris during the 1880s. And so this legend became known as the Vanishing Hotel Room. And it involved like a mother and a daughter staying at this palace hotel during the Great Exposition. And so the mother essentially is taken ill, and the daughter is sent for medicine. When she returns to the room, the wallpaper have changed, and her mother's nowhere to be found. So it's actually makes me think of, have you ever read the book, The Devil in White City?
No.
Okay. It's essentially about the exposition in Chicago where the Ferris wheel was created, as well as
H.H. Holmes?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
that I know.
But anyway, like this idea of like, well, the rooms changed and
First thing
people disappeared. Like so many people disappeared during that time.
That was the World Fair, right?
The World's Fair,
so,
yeah.
H.H. Holmes was a notorious, prolific serial killer.
Yeah.
So the book I did not know, a serial killer. Yes.
But it's interesting because it has like the two parts of that kind of time
and the
period.
first thing I thought, which disappeared, that's the first person I thought of because of the time period and where it was. I still can't figure out how he re-wallpapered, but
well, or did they somehow like there's so many crooks and crannies in these halls that you were like on the wrong floor or whatever. But
yeah, we just went to that museum in DC and you couldn't, I was twisted and turned around. So I can see how it could happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anyway, so once again, an interesting connection of a kind of a legendary story, but also connections when you start thinking about it of other stories out there where a lot of people were coming into Chicago, right, for the World's Fair there, and essentially they never returned home for various reasons, being murdered, thrown into prostitution, all sorts of things. Yeah. So a lot of people kind of got lost because there's hundreds of thousands of people coming through,
right?
So and it's like this big area of trains coming through, trains leaving. Anyway, so we're gonna watch the film now. If you're interested in joining us as we watch and comment on the film The Lady Vanishes, check out our accessory reel, which is a bonus companion track. Otherwise, continue with us as we provide a few snippets of the film and then discuss the criminal themes we identified within the film. The Lady Vanishes, 1938.
You must know something fell on my head.
Where? Anything, sir?
At the station. I know you think I'm crazy, but I'm not.
In the first place, a little old lady disappeared. Everyone that saw her probably insisted she was never there before. Are you out of your senses? There's no face there. Nothing but lumps of raw flesh. In a very few moments now, you will join your young. We can't possibly do anything to us. We're British subjects. Things like this might cause a war.
What's going on here? He's got a gun and he won't use it.
Hey, take a hand off that thing. I'm going to remember it too.
That's the end of the film. So just kind of curious what your thoughts were on, so I know you were saying like you really enjoyed the spy aspect of it.
I did. I think the most, I'm always, the most compelling thing to me is always Hitchcock's detail, his eye for detail.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for that, and how he could weave a story together and again leave all the little clues all the way through a movie that if you pay attention you can put everything together at the end without it being obvious or being too obtuse where you don't know what's going on. But I think my what I learned the most from the movie today is about the shadows. I'm really intrigued about that, and then being able to watch and see how the playing with that. The dark, bad characters are in the dark light, and I think that's been used a lot in movies too. And I keep referencing that. But to me, when you have a great director is when their work is still we're talking almost a century ago now, getting close to it. So, but this movie still holds up. It doesn't seem, because a lot of movies in that time period feel a little overacted, a little hacky. It holds up, and one of the reasons it holds up is there's so many elements that are still used. The romantic comedy, the twists, the cinematography, and all of these things. Some of these things Hitchcock invented. The dollies, when you were asking about how they did the
train scene.
The trains, but using moving dollies to get different perspectives that you wouldn't, using perspectives from the character outward. Just so many elements that are used today that I think, so it's like foundation of the cinema we watch today that wouldn't be there if it weren't for him.
And I think that's very true. I mean, when you think about cinema, especially early cinema, it was very stationary. And so you kind of always saw it from one viewpoint, but being able to see it from different viewpoints, from different perspectives, I think is what makes it unique. And just even like how they use the imagery of the glass. It's not even focused on the glass, but the glass is there, and it's there, not moving. It's quite large, so it was obviously you're going to see it, but you're really the film's actually focused on the guy talking. But you're really paying attention to the glass. You're kind of paying attention to both, but you're like, ooh, but that glass is lingering there.
Yeah, there's so much to see. But the overarching thing I think of all in summary is in this movie, and is it real or is it a dream? You're left wondering for a while. You're left wondering because there's I liken it to, and this is a little more on the spectrum. It was A Beautiful Mind pulled off this trick, and a little more elaborately, but still into the same genre of you're left wondering if is his reality. Is it true? It's just that we're the ones that have it all wrong. Is this, it turns out that no, I was left wondering the entire time. And this movie, I think, stands out so much because of that kind of dream. And even when they do the little fuzzy circular, it was in a ton of movies after that of ooh, they do the dream sequence. And there's actually just like 3 parts, and then she passes out again, and she wakes up, and now we're in stage 3, and it's just they keep you wondering until finally. And if you think about it, we are not supposed to believe until Michael Redgrave's character starts believing. Then it's okay for us to believe, right? So that's the favorite part of the movie, is that is it or isn't it? Is this a dream or is it reality? And that is always fun in movies, and it just keeps you engaged. Because let's face it, if it weren't that element, the rest of it's funny and it's good acting and it's all these things, but that's what pins all of it together is the intrigue and it doesn't fall apart, right? So you have where once you find out that it's for real, it can fall apart very quickly after that. It's like, okay, I'm lost. Now you get into the intrigue of the spy. That's why I like that spy so much. Now you've got, you've got the shootout, you've got the spy. You've still got more movie left, and that's what and I think that what makes Hitchcock so great is there's just so many elements, and again the overarching of playing with the truth, which he liked to do a lot of. Nobody is 100% truthful. No situations are 100% how they seem. And he seemed to know that better than anybody.
Well, just kind of going back to the dream, is this reality or is it a dream? So one thing is that in the book itself, at the end, so she's actually knocked out. She is drugged and she's knocked out. And so finding Miss Froy, all this kind of wrap up is done while she's sleeping. And she wakes up and it's all all wrapped up.
see,
So
yeah.
it's kind of interesting. Keeping that kind of in mind, obviously it would make for a very good film, right? Because it's like, okay, I woke up, I fell asleep and I woke up, the end.
Yeah.
But it kind of almost connects those two pieces then, from the film and also from the book, as potentially like, is this a dream or is this reality? But another thing makes me think of like philosophy class where, and I don't know which philosopher, it's been many, many years, but it was like, the philosophy is like, is this reality or are we living our dream life right now? And what you dream is actually true, the truth.
Well,
do you know, right?
Is this the Matrix?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
I say you can run this threads through so many different ways and know that directors, present day directors and directors out through cinematic history have used these particular threads. This is, that has to be there. What audience put themselves in a seat, pay for a movie ticket for a very certain type of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, and they don't want to see their life played out on the screen. Our life is what it is. So there, those type of playing with those type of realities and playing with those type of tropes are super important to, to keep bringing us back to the theater. Sometimes you have to suspend disbelief a little bit. Sometimes a little bit, a teeny tiny bit, but I will have to, say most of the time, except for maybe some of the climactic scenes in his movies, he kept it pretty real. I mean, could this happen? Pretty much. Is there some, is there still some silliness in there? I'm with you. Some of these ones I was like, wow, I think they were purposeful. Nobody does that many butt shots if it's not on purpose. And I'm not trying to. It's just the truth. I noticed it's like he did at an angle from. I don't think it was sexual. I'm not even insinuating that, but there's a reason for it because, from what I understand, there was a reason for every single solid thing he did. He was so much, mercurial about it that he would teach his actors to be blank faced. Don't make any expressions. Let the camera do the work for you. So that's a guy. I can't believe that anything. I don't know the reason for it. I've never read the reason for that type of thing. But there was nothing that he did that wasn't purposeful in that movie, and you can tell single thing was done on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it holds up. It's going to be a classic forever. I wish they'd stop redoing it some of these movies sometimes because sometimes you just it's better to always go back to the original source material, right?
Yeah.
Some things just need to be left alone.
I will say I should have just stuck with the original rather than the 1970s version.
Yeah.
That was very disappointing. So don't worry, don't watch it.
So thank you for saving 2 hours of my life. I do appreciate that.
Like I said, I think that the latest one is more interesting, but only if you're interested in seeing like how it's portrayed from the book itself. If you're not, then that's
Yeah.
And if you enjoy the original as this is, then I'd say just stick with this then.
I do.
Because it does change it a bit, It changes, like I said, in this movie, Iris is a lot nicer, kinder kind of personality.
Yeah, well, I don't want to root for a woman who's kind of we had that in The Adulteress. She was annoying enough for everybody, right? And then you have, of course, the faux nun came around eventually because, it was okay to murder until she found out she was British.
I mean, in general, I felt like the characters were a lot more unlikable than in this film. So it is something
and you got to remember, there is something psychological to it still, where people want to see a happy ending in a movie, and particularly back then, you really didn't. You see more now that directors play around with having that don't know what happened ending, or there is an unpleasant ending. We still don't like it. I know I don't.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But back then, it was almost like mandatory that the good guy had to win. Mm-hmm. People wanted to see the good guy win,
because you want to hurrah him.
This pre-war, during the war, the good guy needs to win. That was super important when the world was filled with bad guys and becoming the world was becoming a darker place at this point. So, and we want the hero to save the day. So I don't think I would have wanted to watch this if it was just a bunch of jerks mulling around on a train all day. Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so to summarize today's podcast, we tasted the 2022 Traminette from Meseroth Vineyard, which is located in Middletown, Maryland, near Frederick. We ended up pairing that wine with the classic, the Lady Vanishes, and that was created in 1938. And it was based off of, this movie was based off of the novel called The Will Spins by Ethelena White. The novel came out in 1936.
So, as you know, I've mentioned several times this, it was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who was known as the master of suspense. He directed about over 50 films, famously made a cameo in all his films. Today's film was at the end in Victoria Station when they got back to there. And his innovative techniques and storytelling have left a lasting impact on cinema.
Absolutely. The topics that we discussed for this episode included, obviously there were a lot of differences between the book, the original film, and the remake, so we kind of touched on some of those differences. Obviously, the kidnapping of Miss Froy was very key in the film, as well as the witness reliability. So essentially, this idea that when those that we believe to be trustworthy actually lie, they kind of reshape the reality.
Right.
So with that, we want to thank you for joining us for today's episode. Please join us next time as we explore another classic crime film and its perfect wine pairing. Be sure to check out previous episodes on the Booby Trap podcast. You can ask Siri, Alexa, Google for quick access. We're found on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook platforms, as well as YouTube, actually.
Yeah, and when you do that on one of those social platforms, we're going to have a trivia. I want to throw in a trivia question to make it interesting. And that is, if you could go to one of those platforms and tell us what the name of the magician was in the movie. Let's kind of see if you were really paying attention. Actually watch the movie and tell us what the answer to the question is.
Well, until next time, cheers!
Cheers!